Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com, and this is another episode of Ask the Lawyers. Today, we're going to ask the lawyer about rideshare companies. More and more people are using Uber and Lyft to get around, especially in very difficult traffic cities like Los Angeles. And most people probably think they're fully covered if they're in an accident while using a rideshare. Well, my guest today says not so fast. Here to answer our questions is attorney Alex Tofer, a personal injury attorney with Tofer and Associates based in LA. Alex, thank you for your time today. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you for your time as well.
So if I'm riding in an Uber or a Lyft, the car I'm in is involved in an accident, the company's going to have my back. Is that correct?
Well, it depends on the situation that occurs. It depends on whether the driver of your car was at fault or if another vehicle was at fault. The good thing about Uber and Lyft is the fact that they've become mainstream in all communities as the main rideshare company providing access to everyone with the ability to get to their destination with a click of a button on their cell phone. Mm-hmm. So what they've realized is that in order for the passengers to be comfortable to let this become mainstream, they need to protect their passengers and hopefully their drivers as well. So yes, they have implemented great insurance coverages, which do protect the passengers inside the vehicle once the vehicle is en route and until the passenger is out of the vehicle.
So what about the drivers of Uber and Lyft? Are they covered, and does it make a difference whether they're at fault in the accident or not?
That's a great question, and it's actually a very common question that we receive from Uber and Lyft drivers after an accident. Unfortunately, they're not really trained on how to, act immediately after an accident, and they are concerned as to whether they're covered or not. So there are two scenarios that we would face when an Uber or Lyft driver is involved in an accident. One is when they're hit by another vehicle and the fault of the accident lies on another person. In that scenario, the Uber or Lyft driver would be pursuing the insurance of that other vehicle to compensate them for their damages, including the repair of their vehicle, their lost earnings, their injury claims, their medical bills, a rental vehicle, and so forth. Now, if the Uber driver is at fault for the accident and they hit another vehicle, that doesn't apply. Uber does not apply coverage for their injuries, does not provide coverage for their lost earnings, does not provide coverage for their medical bills. They will, however, apply collision coverage for the vehicle being driven by that driver, so long as they carried collision coverage on their own primary policy, separate from the Uber insurance. And if they did cover collision coverage on their vehicle, then Uber would provide them with coverage for the actual cash value of that vehicle minus $1,000 deductible, which the driver would be responsible for. Now, one thing that Uber has implemented that we're very happy that they did to protect their drivers is a coverage called driver injury protection. And what that is, it's a recent new release that Uber provided, where the drivers basically pay a small nominal fee of approximately a little bit less than 4 cents per mile that they drive. And when they do that, Uber has purchased them a special coverage that in case they're involved in an accident or they're injured on the job, they get up to $1 million of their medical bills paid without a deductible. They get $500 a week in their earnings covered. They have a loss of life protection for their family of $150,000 in case, God forbid, there's a death involving that driver. And what Uber did, which was amazing, is in order to assist their drivers in obtaining this coverage, which is basically in somewhat of a workman's comp coverage that they're providing, is they increase their pay by 5 cents a mile so that Uber driver can basically go onto their app, and they must go on their app and add that coverage, and that less than 4 cents a mile will be charged, but they get that paid to them by Uber, they get 5 cents a mile. So that was a great move by Uber. I'm very impressed by their mentality to protect their drivers in doing that. And I highly recommend that all Uber drivers do sign up for that and obtain that coverage. One additional benefit of that coverage is that even when they're parked and they have the app on, if their vehicle is struck and they're injured, they're covered. Or if they're assisting someone at the airport or at their home to put their luggage into the back of their vehicle and they injure their back, they're covered.
Are the drivers for Uber and Lyft required to carry a certain amount of their own personal coverage as well?
Well, yes. In order for you to be legally driving, Uber requires for you to purchase the minimal insurance coverage for your state. For example, in the state of California, that's a $15,000 injury coverage if you injure someone. Up to $15,000 of their medical bills or injury claim would be covered. $30,000 for the total amount of people in the car for their injury claim, and $5,000 for their property damage. So once you have that minimal coverage, you're legally able to drive for Uber or Lyft. Then Uber comes in and provides an additional coverage that will protect the passengers of your vehicle as well as the occupants of the other vehicle that you hit, up to $1 million per claim. So that only comes in once you have your own initial coverage for the vehicle.
So that was going to lead to my next question. You may have just answered it. So if I'm a passenger and I'm injured, is my claim, it sounds like you're saying my claim is first with the driver's insurance plan and then beyond that with whatever Uber offers. Is that correct?
Well, that's actually an interesting question. Initially, when Uber and Lyft came out, most of the private insurance companies excluded you if you were involved in an accident while working for Uber and Lyft, because it's considered to be a commercial use or a driver for hire, which is excluded by the majority of insurance coverages. But once they saw that the industry is growing and expanding and it's become so mainstream, companies such as Farmers Insurance started offering specific coverages for Uber and Lyft drivers that would not exclude them, so long as they notified farmers from the start that they're going to be driving for Uber and Lyft and they paid a higher premium for that coverage, then the vehicle would be covered for that loss. However, in response to your particular question, when you're involved in an accident as a passenger in the vehicle of Uber and Lyft's insurance becomes primary. So their $1 million coverage steps in right away to protect you as a passenger, to ensure that you do not have to jump through the hoops of finding the insurance of the car you were in and so forth. Just because they provide that, though, doesn't mean that it's an easy process.
Right.
And just like all insurance companies, their main interest is to spend as little money as possible and to reduce your claim as much as possible, because they're in the business of making money, not spending money. So based on that, although you do have coverages, it's best to first contact an attorney and speak with them in order to ensure that you get the proper compensation and proper care which you're entitled to as a result of that accident.
So if I'm in an accident, this is my next question, and you led right into it. If we're in an accident, what do I do as a passenger? What are some of the things you suggest that you would suggest to your clients that they do in these sort of situations?
Well, just like any accident, once you're involved in an accident, you need to try to calm down. Step back, breathe, check yourself and see how injured you are. If you are injured, you should immediately dial 911 and advise the operator that you've been involved in an accident. You're requesting that they send an ambulance to come and check you out to make sure you're okay. Number one. Number two, if you're able to, you should get out of the vehicle. If it's safe to do so, take photographs of the vehicles before they're moved. Even take a video, which is even better, showing the locations of the vehicles, showing the drivers in the car, and showing a 360 surrounding before the cars are moved, so as to be able to clearly show how the accident occurred. You should get the information of the drivers involved, the vehicles involved, so that you have that, their contact information, their cell phone numbers, so you have it and you don't have to jump through hoops to get it from Uber or Lyft, which sometimes takes a long time to do. In regards to reporting the claim, you should immediately notify Uber or Lyft on your app that you've been involved in an accident, and don't go any further than that. In my suggestion, that's what you need to do, so that they're aware that the accident has occurred. You've notified them, and then contact your legal representative so that they can move forward in ensuring that the process is done properly.
And if they should reach out to me before I talk to an attorney, whether it be Uber and Lyft or a representative for their insurance company, I should speak to them, not speak to them, tell them I'm planning to speak to an attorney. What's your advice there?
Well, it is common practice whenever you're involved in an accident for the insurance industry to try to contact you as soon as possible. The reason that they do that is so that they can type every word that you say and try to minimize your claim. It's not really because they care about you, it's because they care about their own pocket in a sense. So if you are contacted by a representative, it doesn't mean you have to be rude. You could simply say, I'm not feeling well at the moment. Could you please leave a message with your contact information, the claim information, and I will have my attorney contact you. That way, when you do contact the attorney or your legal representative, they have the information to be able to contact that individual directly. They have the claim number and they know the contact person on your claim, which will assist the law firm in expediting your claim through the system with Uber or Lyft.
Is your advice for what to do immediately after accident similar for the driver? Is there any difference if I'm a driver in that situation?
Well, yes. As a driver, you have one additional concern that the passenger does not have. As a passenger, you're negligence free. So no matter who is at fault in this accident, you are covered. You have that $1 million in coverage, which will cover you for your injury claim and all of your damages. But as a driver, you have that additional step of having to prove that you're not at fault for this accident. So this concept of immediately trying to document how the accident happened with a video on your cell phone. If the other driver is admitting fault, apologizing for being at fault, getting them on video, apologizing, admitting fault, and actually asking them to write down and sign that they are accepting fault for this accident so that they don't change their position later, which unfortunately has become common practice, is a great way of protecting yourself. Another thing I highly recommend is now based on the expansion of surveillance cameras on the streets for local businesses, I highly recommend the Uber or Lyft driver to look at the total neighborhood surrounding them to see if any of the businesses such as gas stations, banks, restaurants, shopping centers, or even local homes have any surveillance cameras that may be facing the area where the accident occurred. And if so, to make a point of going there and asking them to save the footage just so that they have the actual accident on footage to help confirm that they're not at fault for the accident. That along with immediately reporting the claim to Uber and Lyft to ensure that the claim is timely processed, and then contacting your legal representation for further guidance would be my suggestion.
At the beginning, you pointed out that Uber has made some changes as far as insurance and that sort of thing. In your opinion, do you think these companies are doing enough to protect their drivers and passengers? Are there things you'd like to see them still do, or do you think we're in a good situation now?
Well, obviously, there's always room for improvement in any field that we're in, especially when it's protecting those who work for you and those who are helping you earn a living. So as a business owner myself, any step that I can take in order to ensure that my team, my family members at my law firm are healthy, are able to support their family, are able to take precautionary measures for medical care for them and their family, I think that it should be done. I think that Uber has taken a great step in this effort by implementing this driver injury protection. Like I discussed, it gives you $1 million in medical coverage. It covers your lost earnings in case you're in an accident. It has a death benefit. I think that's a great step. One thing that I have noticed that we've received a lot of interesting calls on are Uber drivers or Lyft drivers who are assaulted by their passengers who are either intoxicated or they're trying to rob them. We had a call a couple of weeks ago where 2 men stabbed a young driver repeatedly for no reason, just because they were, I guess, intoxicated. Wow. And then just left the vehicle. Unfortunately, since the drivers are considered independent contractors, there is no insurance coverage for these type of assaults or injuries. So my hope is that Uber and Lyft recognizes the fact that this is something that is happening and they need to figure out a way to ensure that their drivers are protected.
Right. Alex, thank you so much. Lots of great information today. I think you've helped a lot of people. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for your time as well.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyers. My guest has been attorney Alex Tofer of Tofer and Associates in Los Angeles. Please take a sec and subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the button at the bottom of the screen so you'll know about future episodes. And if you could give us a like and a share too, that would be great. If you've been in an accident while driving or riding a rideshare vehicle and you want the best information, or you're ready to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, please head over to AskTheLawyers.com. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com.